Minister, will you provide an update in respect of the Action Plan for Sport 2021-2023 and the government targets to have 40% female representation on board memberships of the national governing bodies of sport? Thank you.
Addressing women's participation at all levels in sports is an important element of the national sports policy and is a core priority for me and for Minister Martin and the government as a whole. That includes women in leadership positions such as board members of national governing bodies. The Sports Action Plan sets a target for all national governing bodies to achieve a 40% gender representation on their boards by the end of this year. It's a priority to enable women to take more leadership positions in sport, and the 40% target reflects this prioritisation. The most recent board composition snapshot, which was published in December by Sport Ireland, shows that the average percentage of women on boards of national governing bodies in sport has increased from 24% in 2019 to 36% in 2022. For local sports partnerships, the average percentage has increased by 2% over the last year, with women accounting for 39% of board members. The snapshot also highlights that 33 sporting organisations have already achieved 40% or more female representation on their boards. Sport Ireland will continue to provide support to national governing bodies towards achieving this essential target of 40% and will monitor and report on progress. Achieving the 40% target is one of Sport Ireland's grant funding priorities from this year onwards, and future funding will be impacted for any national governing body who fails to meet the target by the end of this year. I do want to acknowledge, though, that significant efforts are being made by sporting bodies around gender diversity on their boards. There has been good progress by many towards achieving the target, but there is a number of national governing bodies that still have a way to go to meet the target, and I would encourage those national governing bodies to place a real focus on this task during this year. It's absolutely essential.
And thank you. And, Minister, it is true that women have achieved major sporting success as of late, but the push for greater gender representation in Ireland's Irish sport is something we all have to get involved in. And I see challenges myself. I know locally in Carlow, one issue that comes up constantly for clubs is securing coaches, female coaches for female teams. I know another obstacle is Garda vetting. This is an enormous issue. So on the ground there are challenges. These challenges mean that there are cases where young girls cannot access sports locally because there are no clubs with, they haven't got enough coaches, enough women coaches. So what else do you think we can do to support this on the ground? And I think that's so important. And I want to welcome your statement there. And I also have the figures there. If you look at the local sports partnerships, saw an increase of 2% over the last year, with females accounting for 39% of board members. However, the Irish Times have reported that 17 NGBs have 20% of fewer women on their boards, including the so-called, as we know, the big three, the IRFU 13%, FAI 17% and the GAA 20%, as well as Ireland's most successful Olympic sport, the Irish Athletic Boxing Association, with only 17%. So, what else do you think we can do? And while I know you're doing your best, I just think we need to maybe try and do some more. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And I think, look, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I want to be very, very clear to all of the national governing bodies, including the big national governing bodies, who, to be fair to them, are doing a lot for sport and for women in sport. But to be absolutely clear that grant funding to those organisations is now closely aligned to our key policies. And one key policy is the achievement of the 40% gender balance, but effectively female representation on the boards of NGBs. And when I've met some of these national governing bodies so far. I haven't met them all. This has been on my agenda in every conversation that I've had so far as to how important this is. I think that this is one step. It's only one step. I think a very, very important step. If this is not reached, I think there's no doubt there will be significant funding issues for those NGBs, and my officials are beginning discussions with Sport Ireland as to how we do it. But there is a range of funding sources from Sport Ireland, from the government, at all levels, that undoubtedly would be affected by this. I think we've got to support women in sport at every level. That's the start. But we have to get, people coming up through the ranks as well, and to encourage women and to allow women to come up through the ranks in organisations will be equally important as well.
Okay, and I just want to thank you for that. And Minister, even when I was reading into this and speaking to women about this, I know that support is being provided for dedicated leadership training programmes for women, including governance-related, technical training, coaching, refereeing and team management. Sport Ireland is supposed to monitor the NGB progress against targets and report annually on whether additional measures should be gender quotas are warranted. So I'm just wondering about the targets. I know that you will follow up on this, but I just think it is important that we encourage targets, that we make sure to meet our targets, because we have some of the finest young women in the world there that can offer so much and are so proud of our Irish heritage and love to be in all the different sports. So I think again we need to make sure pay them, we need to make sure and look after them, and we need to encourage them. And I know, Minister, that you are absolutely committed to doing this. Thank you.
I know, Deputy Murnane-O'Connor, that you will be fighting for sports funding for Carlow, and there will be no harm to remind the national governing bodies of that funding will be dependent into the future on having representation at board level. I think we need to fight as well for more facilities. I think, quite frankly, this summer is going to be like Italia 90 in some respects with our women in the Soccer World Cup. And I think any levels of inequality simply wouldn't be tolerated. So we've got to work to have more facilities, because we expect I would expect in soccer at least for more women to be participating, and I know that you'll be working hard in Carlow in relation to that. There's a lot of work to be done. We haven't made any decision as to where the significant funding cuts would be if boards don't meet these reasonable targets. I mean, they're very reasonable targets. I wouldn't be proposing, though, and we haven't made any decisions to cut any of the women in sport funds.
No, absolutely not.
That would go against the whole point of it, but we have to make decisions on that yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister.